Well, we're not in Edmonton anymore.
Goddamn rights or not.
Well, I think what it was is a bringing together of all sorts of loose ends that were initiated back in April of 2002, April 17th, when the 4 young soldiers were killed overseas. The first 4 killed in action in Afghanistan. And my life has gone on, Joe Green's life has gone on, as well as the members of the Canadian Forces. But this brings together a huge effort on Joe's part, and it brought back my regimental family, which I've since stepped away from, and I think it's going to be very meaningful for everybody in the Canadian Forces. Well, I think the largest impact on me was the fact that an organization like the Space Center would take the interest in a symbolic gesture of this nature, and the fact that it didn't just travel up there in the cargo space, it was right up front with the astronauts, and that it was actually displayed in space. So you know, I think that characterizes the way Canada feels about the military. For the longest time it was out of sight, out of mind, but was carrying on a legacy that was established in World War I and World War II and Korea, and in fact that legacy is living on today, and Canadians are quite proud that we do stand up and fight for peace. That was huge. You know, it immediately brings me back to the days in our headquarters in Kandahar in the airfield. It was a completely different airfield from what it is today. It was basically wrecked buildings surrounded by trenches and tents of the troops. But in our headquarters, then Major Mark Campbell sort of brought to our attention that there's this guy, Joe Green, who'd put up all of these ribbons, and he came across the website where he was collecting, Joe was collecting names or testimonials from people who were sorry to hear about our losses there, and it was hugely compelling. And I have to say, Joe is probably was the leading edge of the pathological kind of patriotism that we're enjoying today. Canada's very proud of what we're doing in Afghanistan, and they've come to realize that when the Cold War ended, the hot war started, and our nation has fronted up to virtually all of the major conflicts that the United Nations and other entities have been involved in. So, you know, it's a huge act of patriotism on Joe's part, and having served in uniform, I think it's safe for me to say on behalf of soldiers, sailors, and Air Force personnel that it's hugely gratifying to have people like Joe taking on these initiatives.
You got to shake Dr. MacLean's hand.
That was what it meant to me personally was, wow. You know, okay, here I am. It's like coming into my little world here for a moment, like if you were coming in, and it's just like, here I am, I'm an artist, and I'm shaking hands with the president of the Canadian Space Agency, an astronaut who's gracious enough to take this flag that was given to me from Afghanistan into orbit. I thought it was just going into the cargo hold. I didn't know he unfurled it and actually flew it. I didn't know that. I didn't see that picture, and when I saw that, I was floored. And what it says, it just speaks to the grace and his character. And I was absolutely floored by that, and what it meant to me was just, he comes to epitomize and symbolize all that is great about Canadian public service at the highest order possible. And it was just my honor and privilege to circulate with those kind of people.
So tell me how you feel for this presentation.
Okay, let's see. I'm meeting the president of the Canadian Space Agency. I'm honored, I am floored, I am humbled, I am scared, nervous, comforted. I feel as though the complete embodiment of all my emotions are in a blender, in a perfectly spiral sort of vortex of coolness, if that makes any sense. But I tell you, it's this whole project was, you know, this whole project is about the Canadian Forces and honoring the sacrifices made by our soldiers, and yeah, it's a suitable and fitting conclusion to honor the sacrifices and the lives of Canadian soldiers we lost, and you know, pound for pound, you know, Canadians are renowned for not tooting our own horns, but you know what? we're the best. We have the best military in the world, bar none. So I think, I don't know. But yeah, it's a complete jumble of emotions.
Can you tell us that one more time?
Sure. So what it's like, what I'm feeling like, well, first and foremost, I'm honored, and I'm fundamentally honored that Dr. MacLean he agreed, he was so gracious to take the flag of the Princess Patricia's Canadian Light Infantry, 3rd Battalion, into orbit, and it represents, to the best of my knowledge, the first time a Canadian Forces flag ever flew in orbit, and it doesn't get any higher than that. It just does not get any higher than that, and it's just a profound honor. And from my perspective, everything has happened in such a fast, timely order, even though it's been 7 years in the making. It just feels like a blink of an eye ago all this started. And I'm just a complete, like, I have to process my emotions at a later date because everything is just so tumultuous at this moment. But I think it's a very suitable, fitting conclusion for this as a way to commemorate the sacrifices and the loss of Canadian forces serving in Afghanistan. And you know, it's a suitable conclusion to this project. And you know, I'm sure I've annoyed members of the battalion in my persistence, but at least I saw it through to its conclusion, and that's important because it's a reflection of one's own credibility. And you know, I never thought for a moment that when I was in Edmonton and I heard about the soldiers killed and I set up the website, I also put up some 400 yellow ribbons in Edmonton. I was just like, I have to do something. And I never thought, while I was tying up the ribbons, that I was going to end up here in, you know, St. Hubert at the Canadian Space Agency with a flag that went into orbit, flew 4.9 million miles at 17,500 miles an hour. And it's just like, wow. Like, it's just a testament to that moment, of that spark where you're compelled to action. And if you don't seize that opportunity to actually initiate something in the course or in the desire to do something for your country or your fellow neighbor, you know, then everything that, let it stand as a testament to what could happen when you get involved in public service or helping out, as opposed to it just being, oh, well, what could have I done, right? For me, this is an epic journey of, you know, it's a speechless journey. Like, it's rendered me, someone who I don't have a problem in talking. It's rendered me speechless because, you know, it's an overwhelming thing. You know, like it's in this journey where I've actually came across many members of our military and our soldiers and their families, and I've experienced nothing but the highest order of professionalism and grace and class that our country has in the public service and members in the military and now the Canadian Space Agency. It's high order magnitude professionalism and grace and everything that is best about being Canadian. And you know, pound for pound, we have the best military in the world, period. And if anyone in the United States or anywhere in the world doubts that, well, I've got some friends in the JTF I'd like to introduce them to. And you know, a lot of Canadians are wallflowers when it comes to promoting or tooting our own horn. Well, I'm not. I'm here to, you know, using this opportunity to highlight that we have the best military in the world and we have the best people in the world for not only our military but also in the Canadian Space Agency. Like Dr. MacLean is just an amazing, inspiring figure. You know, he's leading the charge in the next generation of Canadian space technology. And
Morning.
how do you do, sir? I'm Joe Green. It's lovely meeting you. Wow.
Nice to meet you.
It's wow. It's wow.
It's been a long time.
It has, and I'm just grateful for you to take the flag in orbit, and I have a little gift for you.
Okay.
And it's right here. I have a painting, but I also have a copy of my book. That the one that's destined for you is actually in the mail somewhere.
Okay.
So that was beyond my control. But I have this copy I'll present to you, and then when we find the book, you can swap
Let me
it.
introduce General Stu Beer.
Hi, how's
I
it
remember you, sir. How you
going?
doing?
I'm good.
It's been a while,
Yes.
and It's, wow. Well, how are you doing?
I am still serving.
Yeah?
Just not where I want to be necessarily.
Well,
It's all good.
well, your service to Canada is very much appreciated. And where would you rather be serving?
Well, back in the field, but I got to serve in those headquarters because that needs to be done.
Well, it's very much appreciated. And wow. This is, well. Hi, Lauren. How you doing? It's good seeing you again.
You bet. How's it going?
Oh, it's going really good. It's going really good. You look great.
Oh, thanks. I feel. You know what? I feel good.
Yeah?
I really do.
Oh, awesome.
Oh, good.
I remember when I was filming at battalion headquarters, and you scared the hell out of me with just the way you were, talking to the battalion. Is when you were issuing instructions on the parachute jump.
Yeah, okay.
And I was just like, oh. There I am. I'm filming. My hands are shaking because just like you can tell, you have the wrath of God behind you. It's pretty cool. How you
Joe,
doing?
I'm Pete Dahl.
How do you do?
I'm the CO of the unit, and this is the RSM, Mr. Lejeune.
How do you do, sir? It's lovely.
Pleasure to
lovely
meet you.
It's a magnificent experience here.
It's
and
great to see you here.
It's,
Listen, I really hope that after this we can sort of close the loop back in the battalion, perhaps at some point. You and I should talk.
Sure.
Figure out how to do this, so we can
Okay.
properly recognize you in front of the battalion for all the work you've done. Okay.
Whatever you prefer, sir.
Okay, great.
It's done.
Yeah.
It's.
We'll talk, buddy. Yeah, that's
Okay. All right. Are you with the Patricias? I would. Yeah.
Well,
PPCLI.
so I'm the CO of the 3rd Battalion with.
Oh, back in Edmonton.
Yeah.
Oh, you flew out for this.
Yeah, 3 of us. Yeah.
Wow. Oh, wow.
I had to meet
wow.
this guy, of course. Yeah.
Oh well, he was actually the last. You were the last person to sign the flag. We signed it at City Hall. I remember that.
Yeah.
And I'd actually like to get Dr. MacLean to sign it. And okay, well. All right. Well, good morning. Whichever you prefer. You prefer to stand? Okay, I'm going to sit if that's all right. Okay. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. First, I'd like to thank Dr. MacLean and the entire Canadian Space Agency for extending an invitation to receive this flag. In 2002, I set up a website to collect the condolences of average Canadians and people worldwide for the first 4 Canadian soldiers killed in Afghanistan. I am just an average Joe who happened to live in Edmonton on a main road which soldiers from Edmonton Garrison used. When we lost the first soldiers, I could sense a vacuum which is now spread across Canada with the loss of our latest soldiers, and in that, I felt that I had to do something constructive because losing any member of our beloved military, for me, feels like a loss of a brother or sister, and it compelled me to do something. So the next day, I put up hundreds of yellow ribbons on 97th Street in Edmonton, and in fact, I was met with the first widow and her family of this conflict, Marley Leger, and the family of Sergeant Mark Leger came out to thank me. There are simply no words to explain that profound moment, except that she is a woman of class and grace, and are all the families I've had the honor to circulate with on this epic journey, especially the Van Sloten family, relatives of Corporal Ainsworth Dyer. By this point, I had the website well underway, and within the first week, I received nearly 60,000 hits and was contacted by my now lifelong friend, Major Mark Campbell, the Deputy Commanding Officer of 3rd Battalion PPCLI Battle Group, serving in Afghanistan with a message of thanks. As an artist, it marked the first time my work was shown in a war zone, and needless to say, I was floored. After insisting on asking what it was they could do to thank me, I requested an autographed flag of their regiment, as I'm an avid flag collector. Thinking nothing of it, Major Campbell did all the legwork to facilitate that, and I simply could not believe it when he sent a group photo of the battle group posing for a picture. That moment, seeing that picture, restored my faith in humanity and made me realize the true caliber of people who serve Canada. And to Major Mark Campbell, I thank you and your family, along with the family of Colonel Wayne Eyre, for your hospitality. After reading a story on CNN.com about how there was a U.S. Marine Corps flag pulled from the rubble of the Pentagon that was taken on a space shuttle as a way to inspire the entire U.S. Armed Forces, I contacted the Canadian Space Agency, provided them with a backstory along with some pictures, and Dr. MacLean warmly accepted my offer of the flag to take into orbit as a way to inspire the Canadian forces. When I read the email informing me of their decision, I was stunned and truly inspired by the sheer generosity of Dr. MacLean and the entire Canadian Space Agency, for they matched the same degree of high-order professionalism and grace I've experienced in dealing with the Canadian forces. Today, I present the last copy of a book I invested 2.5 years into in order to sell and raise funds to memorialize all soldiers lost while serving in Afghanistan. The proceeds I was able to raise were donated to an organization which promotes women's rights and literacy in the Middle East based on the recommendations of my very good friend, Colonel Pat Stobern, the commanding officer of the 1st Battle Group, and now the Ombudsman at Veteran Affairs. At the Fund's presentations, which took place at my alma mater, Emily Carr University of Art and Design in Vancouver, the Patricias arranged to have a piper from the Seaforth Highlanders come out and participate to help close that chapter. What I give to you now is one of only 18 books in existence. I gave the majority of these books away to members of the family who lost loved ones, and the first 8 injured soldiers is my gesture of thanks for their sacrifices to Canada. Since that time, I have been presented with this flag. Over 100 more Canadian soldiers have died while serving in Afghanistan, and each have had the same impact on me as the first. There is no easy way to accept such a tragic loss, especially with the most recent ones just a few days ago. Unfortunately, the book destined for you is in the mail as we speak, so this is my personal copy I'm presenting, which you can hold on to until we are able to track yours down. The loss of any precious members of any service is hard, and with that, I, along with all Canadians, would like to express our deepest collective condolences to the space families on the loss of Columbia only a few short years ago. The world stood still that day, and their bravery and courage to this day serve to inspire millions around the world. To Dr. MacLean, I'd really like to specifically point something out. By virtue of you taking that flag into orbit and elevating that Canadian Forces flag of the 3rd Battalion, Princess Patricia's Canadian Light Infantry, you took our forces somewhere they have never been before. I know that I received this flag initially for the first 4 we lost, but I ask that you, the Canadian Forces as a whole, and the Canadian families who are bearing the brunt of this come to view this as our flag. What you did, sir, you took the flag of our fallen soldiers, all of them. You, sir, you carried that flag which escorted the souls of our fallen soldiers home to the heavens to make sure they made it home safe. And I would just like to specifically highlight that because it is in that context which I graciously accept this flag back from you. This flag, as I have promised, will end up back here in the near future, framed up for a permanent display so that anyone in Canada may come and visit it, as it has become a sacred piece of Canadian military history. I'd like to close by saying thank you again to Dr. MacLean for this effort in bringing this to a proper and graceful conclusion for all members of the PPCLI and who serve in the Canadian Forces. I would especially like to express my deepest thanks to the regiment for putting up with my stubborn persistence. And finally, I'd like to thank the soldiers who defend Canada and the families which sacrifice for me and for this nation. Your courage and sacrifice serve to inspire me, and when you have those moments of hardship and loss, I invite you to go outside and on those hard nights, look up towards the heaven, knowing that for 11 days, 19 hours, 6 minutes, and 35 seconds, the entire earth flew under the flag of the Canadian Forces and under the Patricias, under their watch. And our nation is safe because of your collective sacrifices. Thank you, and may God continue to bless Canada. Thank you. So, I have this for you, sir. So, that is for you. And I also have a little painting. Well, not little, but I have a painting for you. I'm among many other things, I'm a fine arts painter. And as a way to kind of symbolically just say thank you, not only on behalf of myself, but on the regiment and the Canadian Forces, I'd just like to give this to you as just our token of thanks. So let me just slowly take these flags off. And I also have one request. As an artist, I like to think I have some degree of license, I suppose. I would like to invite you to actually paint the last stroke because it's important to me as an artist. So, would you care to grab the other side, sir? Now this painting is called The Stuff of Patricia's because he's got the stuff of Patricia's. So this is actually a painting of STS-115 going up. And I hope you don't mind, but I took the liberty of getting your badges and putting them into the painting. And in fact, as a painter out in Vancouver, you know, I was really honored that your involvement in this directly contributed to my own art practice. And as a painter, I usually paint in chef's whites because I'm a very, very sloppy painter. And when I heard that, that flag went up, I actually wanted to bring this to show you that this is my very first painting jacket. And this is kind of like my uniform, as it were. And so I actually put a badge of the Canadian Astronaut Office. And sometimes people say, well, what are you, a space cadet? I'm like, well, yeah. It's so I just wanted to let you know that your involvement directly influenced my life. So, sir, I'd like to, with your permission, invite you to take this brush.
You want me to paint it?
I want.
Don't mess it up.
All right. So take this, and what we'll do, we're going to drain both tubes right down in here, and then you can just mix it in, and then that's it. So, by all means, spread away, sir.
So you're...
Yeah, drain the whole tube. There you go, sir.
I'm sure I'll have to pay union fees or something, right?
So just do whatever you feel.
Well, you're missing a shockwave in here.
That's fine. That's all part of the artwork.
The shockwaves are in diamond things. So.
Really?
Yeah. I don't want to make it look like I know what I'm doing here.
Wow. This, by far, at this moment, is one of the best moments of my life, especially as an artist.
My goodness. You don't have much time to work with this paint, do you?
No, it's oil. So actually, I paint so thick that realistically, it's probably going to take 60 years for the paint to dry. Yeah, you should see some of my other works. Oh, that's actually.
What you need to do is to work that into the blue, right? Yeah, that's right. And you need right there is the main.
You need some more weight?
No, it's okay. Just, there you go. Okay.
Sir, let me wipe this.
Yeah, you should maybe work that in a bit, huh? There were a few clouds there that day, so I think they're a bit higher though.
That's for you, sir.
All right, thank you. Okay.
Actually, could I pose for a picture with you?
Well, I'd like to invite General Beard to
Absolutely, sir.
make a few words, actually.
Folks, this is a little unexpected for me.
Maybe
I just
put
gotta
this over there for
my
now.
participation in this into the context. In 2002, it was my honor to be commanding a brigade of troops out west, which included 3 PPCLI battle group commanded by Colonel Pat Stover at the time, and send them off to Afghanistan. I didn't think I'd be this many years later reconnecting with the 3 PPCLI family in a post-op Apollo era, hanging out with a Canadian astronaut, watching a flag that has been taken to space come back to the troops that were actually deployed on that mission. So this is actually a pretty great day. But I'd just like to put the this kind of Canadian personal engagement, Canadian public engagement, and Canadian institutional support to Canada's military in a bit of context. If you could put yourself back to about September, say, 8th of 2001, and ask yourself what you were thinking about Canada's place in the world, what mattered in the world, and whether or not Canada really was conscious that it might need a military to defend Canadians or their interests globally, locally, continentally, and whether or not they'd ever find themselves halfway around the planet in some landlocked country that most of Canadians had never really thought of before. So pre-9/11, there was really not a lot of Canadian consciousness about, the world. and Canada's place in that world and what Canada might want in terms of a military to defend Canada and Canadian interests in that world. But, you know, so after 9/11, if you didn't think you needed a military or might want one before 9/11, afterwards, probably most Canadians said, hey, we probably need one. About April 15th, 2002, we've got 1,000 of Canada's finest in southern Afghanistan. And up to that point, most Canadians probably didn't know they had a military. But on April 17th, every Canadian knew they had a military. And with the four fallen, with Ainsworth Dyer, Ricky Green, Nathan Smith, and Mark Leger, with their passing and the repatriation of their wounded under Sergeant Ford and the gang coming home, every Canadian knew they actually had a military who was there to defend them in this new world within which we're living. And not only did they know they had one, they learned to take a personal stake in the care and nurturing of that military and in the visible demonstration of support both as people, as Canadians in the street, yellow ribbons on the roads and highways of heroes, and in institutions like the Space Agency and others saying, what can we do to support and enable our military, who is actually here to take care of Canada and Canadians in this modern world within which we live. So this is another demonstration of our consciousness of our need for professional military force, the fact that we know we have one and that we're going to exercise stewardship and ownership of that force. And as individual citizens and as organizations that represent other Canadian national interests, like the Space Agency does, we're going to recognize that military and we're going to continue to support it. So I'm absolutely thrilled to see that my new battle buddy, Dr. MacLean, a Canadian hero and a Canadian astronaut, has personally invested in that demonstration of support to Canada's military, and in particular to the folks that charted a new era for the Canadian military in southern Afghanistan in the form of the 3 PPCLI team under then Colonel Pat Stogren, who could probably use a haircut, and those who have followed behind him. And with that, Dr. MacLean, my thanks to you and for everything you're doing.
Thank you. I would like to do two things before I show what I flew in this frame of what we did in space with the flag. Where is the flag right now? Is it? It's in this box? Okay. It seems too small. It's very well folded then, huh? Okay, is it okay if I open it? Mm-hmm. If I unfold it? And could I ask the representative from Patricia? You'll see it's been folded very well here, so there's probably our formality to do that. While we're unfolding it, I'm allowed to take two what they're called flight data file into the shuttle itself. We do take a number of small Canadian flags and small provincial flags, but they're in the hold of the shuttle. I'm only allowed to take two inside the shuttle. So the two items I took, one was on behalf of my wife and family, and the second was this flag. So it was very important for me to take this flag, but we're just going to unfold it and show all the signatures that are on both sides. And then maybe we can just lay it down here. Oh, did you get the picture that you needed? Okay. And then this.
Wow.
This is how it, oh, we don't actually see the whole picture. I'm going to get you the full picture of this, okay? Anyways, this is a montage that includes the flag, and it's this picture that I wanted to show you. And what's missing in this picture is I'm here in front of the flag. We're actually in the airlock, just where we go outside for our EVA, or our spacewalk, so it's just inside that area. But this picture is great because I'm floating in this direction, but Chris Ferguson, the pilot of the space shuttle on that mission, you can see his head there and his shoulder there. He's upside down holding the other side of the flag.
Well, it was just, I didn't know it. Before I sent the flag, I pricked my finger and I bled right on the rope just so I could say, you know, there's a piece of me zipping around the Earth at, you know, 17,500 miles an hour, 186 orbits, right? And I thought it was just in the cargo hold, but I was just like, wow, there's a part of me in that picture, and the flag is there, and it was just like, you know, I thought, you know, just because of the complex nature of the way the whole shuttle missions work and everything, I was just like, okay, I understand. Well, you know, just put it in the cargo hold as long as it can fly for the boys, right? That's all that matters, is just make sure you fly it for the boys and for the men and women who serve Canada. But when I actually saw that he actually flew it, it was just, I honestly, I felt like I was going to cry, because it was just like, oh, you are just so beautiful. Thank you.
So I wanted to give you a comparison of you and I holding the flag here. But when this was shrunk, actually, when I guess to make it into the montage. But the montage, this is what the station looked like after we left. Each picture is from, there are the diamond shocks that should be in your painting, okay? You know, this is a picture of the shuttle while we do the flip, just before we arrived at the station. And this is one of my favorite shots. There's a whole series as we go over the Mediterranean. And the reason I like this shot is I'm right there on the outside. You know, if you're over 40, you probably need glasses to see me. And of course, this is during the EVA itself. So the station, Marc Garneau brought up this solar panel here. Basically, our crew brought up this solar panel. And just on the mission that's there now, the fourth one is there. So the station is fully outfitted with its power. And so it's a pretty exciting time. Anyways, I would like the Patricia Regiment to have this, and we can probably get a copy for you as well, Joe.
I'm sure that there's definitely a spot that we'll find for this. This is very, very cool. I don't know any other way to put it, really.
Yeah, and Joe,
Really excellent.
Joe mentioned the time. I typically say 12 days or 13 days or something like that. But this has gone 7.84 million kilometers during the 13 days that we were on orbit. And we did 187 orbits of the Earth. You know, we do 90, every 90 minutes we do one orbit. So we get 16 sunrises and 16 sunsets. So this flag actually saw 186 sunrises and 186 sunsets over the course of the mission. So
Half the time of the troops over there.
yeah. So anyways, I'm very pleased to give this to you. It was, you know, our entire crew was Navy on board the shuttle. I was the only civilian. And I had Navy background because I come from a shipbuilding village in Nova Scotia. So I got away with being Navy while I was there. But it was a very touching moment when Chris and I held this flag, and because we all, you know, some of them have seen action, and we all know what it takes. The risk that it takes, the sacrifice of the families, we all know what it takes to support our country's army. So, okay, well, thank you.
On behalf of the 3rd Battalion and all the troops overseas, I thank you very much, and it's very touching, and we'll definitely find a spot for this. This is very, very, very excellent. Thank you.
Okay, good. And I guess that concludes what we were trying to do here. This is, you know, you and I started in our new positions on the very same day pretty well, within the same week, I believe.
Yeah.
And it's very important to me, the relationship with our armed forces. And I'm going to pursue that over the course of my mandate, to work very closely with D&D, so that we make space an essential element of our government's infrastructure. This is my main goal. But it gave me great pleasure to support you, 2.5 years ago now, in a way that is much, much more personal. Okay, thank you. Okay. Good.
Can I have a group photo with you?
Yeah, sure. In fact, I would like a photo with everyone that's from Patricia, just to make sure, and the Colonel as well.
Great. We'll get a shot.
You were the Colonel at the time?
Yes, I was.
Okay.
Go, boys.
Stu, you should be here too.
I don't know if you want this and then one without, maybe, I think.
Yeah.
Beside the short guy. Not first. figured out all by myself. I keep telling
I
us,
wasn't aware that you took
it's
the
gotta
actual
be
flag
done.
in the shuttle, and
Yeah.
seeing that was just very, very lovely, sir. Thank you. So I thought the flag was actually going to end up here. I was actually prepared to frame it up and then ship it back here, but Patricia's took it, and it's going to get displayed now forever in their battalion headquarters. And right on, I'm happy, and so they can maybe display it beside my book there, and long after I'm dead, in a blink of an eye from now, I won't be here. It'll be 100 years in the future, 200 years in the future, but that flag will still be there. People who have a dream and a passion and a vision need to follow it, because there's other like-minded people who are in that same sort of mindset, and it's so critical. It's so critical that they do, because it's a testament, and the whole system, the way humanity's kind of, the human systems are kind of rigged. They're running against people with passion and creativity and entrepreneurial spirit, and if you show dedication and steadfast commitment, you're going to meet other like-minded people along the way who happen to have, like yourself, this guy's mover and shaker, bring to bear their kind of resources to help manifest these dreams and visions into reality. And then eventually, once you get there, like it is right here, like, here I am, I'm at the Canadian Space Agency, oh my God, like, that's a testament right there to, when you have a dream and you're willing to sacrifice, and sacrifice hard, you can get there. And I'm sure Dr. MacLean, when he was a young man, he had an idea to be an astronaut, and I'm sure a lot of people were just like, oh, well, whatever. Okay, well, now he's running the Canadian Space Agency, right? And it's all about perseverance and having that commitment to, see things through to the end. And that's the most important lesson, is perseverance. When Obama got nominated, he was in the skybox with Steven Spielberg, okay? Mover and shaker, this guy. If you think I'm kidding, you just watch what he does. This guy, it's, when history is written the books on us, we're going to be, doing some very, we're going to be doing some very creative, very amazing things, and it's an honor to know this man.
I want to say congratulations.
Thank you,
on
my
your
friend.
project. It's meant a great deal.
Thank you.
Best of luck. That was good.
Still good, like maybe 20